Welcome to This Explainer. If you're parenting a 7 to 9-year-old, you know it probably feels like someone just flipped a switch overnight. One day they're your super confident little kid, and the next, they're hitting you with a million anxious questions. Today, we're going to explore the fascinating science behind this sudden shift and, more importantly, give you the exact tools to empower them.
Get this, 80% of school-age children actually report experiencing regular worry. 80%. So if your 8-year-old is suddenly chewing their fingernails over a spelling test, they are literally in the vast majority. You are absolutely not alone in this. It isn't some rare anomaly, it is a massive, shared developmental milestone.
So why the sudden change? They used to just be afraid of the imaginary monster under the bed, right? But now, maybe they're losing sleep over earthquakes, getting hurt, or failing at school. It really feels like a huge step backward in their confidence, doesn't it? Well, honestly, the truth is actually the exact opposite.
Here is the wild paradox we're diving into it today. This spike in anxiety, it isn't a regression at all. It's actually a byproduct of their growing intelligence and cognitive maturity. It sounds totally counterintuitive, but your child's newfound worry is a direct result of their brain getting a massive upgrade. They're not going backwards, they're leveling up. It's just that their imagination is bringing some, exhausting new challenges along for the ride. Think about how their fears completely transform. In preschool, their brains are dominated by magical thinking, so fears are all about imaginary monsters in the dark. But at ages 7 to 9, the school-age brain realizes the world has actual physical rules. They overhear adult conversations, they catch glimpses of the news, and it clicks for them that real-world threats like storms or tests or getting hurt actually exist.
Psychologists actually call this entering the concrete operational stage. Sounds a bit academic, I know, but it basically just means your kid has unlocked the ability to mentally simulate future scenarios. Before this stage, kids mostly just react to whatever is right in front of them. But now they understand cause and effect. They can imagine a whole sequence of events that hasn't even happened yet. They've literally unlocked the ability to anticipate the future.
Because they've unlocked this ability, their incredibly capable brains are just constantly running these what-if scenarios, trying to anticipate danger. Like researchers say, smarter children worry more simply because they can envision more potential threats. Your child is basically acting as a tiny, highly stressed out risk assessment manager. Their brain is working beautifully to scan the horizon for trouble, they just haven't figured out how to turn the scanner off yet.
This brings us to a really crucial difference. When your 4-year-old is scared of the dark, boom, turning on a light fixes the immediate trigger. Problem solved. But when your 8-year-old is spiraling about a math test next Tuesday, you can't just flip a switch for that. The threat is in the future. That means simple parental reassurance doesn't cut it anymore because, let's face it, you can't guarantee a bad thing won't ever happen down the road. The solution has to involve cognitive reasoning.
To complicate things a bit, they also fall into what's known as the fear generalization trap. See, kids this age are developing associative fear learning, but they still lack the mature discrimination to separate actual threats from totally safe situations. So let's say they get scared by a specific dog barking loudly. That fear easily overgeneralizes. Suddenly they're scared of all dogs, and then boom, they're terrified of all animals. Their brain is trying its best to keep them safe, but it's just casting the net way too wide.
And oh boy, in today's world, there is a massive accelerator to all of this. Unrestricted digital media acts literally like an anxiety pathogen. Think about viral trends on social media, like tutorials on astral projection or lucid dreaming. To an adult, it's just weird content. But to a pre-adolescent in this concrete operational stage, they might misinterpret that as a literal biological threat, like their soul is going to permanently leave their body. Algorithms are feeding these highly sophisticated, scary concepts straight into their vulnerable minds.
With all these new inputs, it is absolutely vital for us to distinguish between healthy, normal worry and generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD. Look, normal worry is tied to a specific event, causes maybe mild tension, and eventually passes. GAD, on the other hand, is a totally different beast. It's a daily, uncontrollable state of what-if thinking that brings on chronic physical symptoms like stomach aches and sleep loss, and it severely disrupts a child's life.
So, what should you look out for? If your child is showing red flags, like extreme avoidance, persistent sleep disruption, expressing hopelessness, or needing constant reassurance for over 6 months, it is highly recommended to seek professional help. Normal fears shouldn't stop your kid from being a kid. If their anxiety is forcing your whole family to restructure daily life just to avoid triggers, it's definitely time to bring in an expert.
But hey, here is the amazing news. That exact cognitive upgrade causing all this worry, it also makes them perfectly primed for early cognitive behavioral tools and self-reflection techniques. Because their brain can finally grasp logic, cause and effect, and abstract thoughts, you can actually teach them to hack their own anxiety. We can basically hand them an empowerment toolkit.
Before we get into the solutions, we really need to talk about what not to do. First off, don't just demand they stop worrying. Honestly, that's like telling someone to stop hiccuping. It just doesn't work. Also, try not to over-accommodate their avoidance or model anxious behavior yourself. If you let them skip every single situation that makes them anxious, you accidentally confirm to their brain that the danger was real, and that prevents them from learning they can actually cope with hard things.
Instead, what really helps is normalizing the worry. Validate those feelings. Tell them, hey, lots of kids your age worry about this. It just means your brain is getting super good at thinking ahead. Problem solve collaboratively by asking, okay, what could we do if that actually happened? And for sure limit their exposure to the news and algorithmic media. They understand just enough to be terrified, but lack the broader context to assess real risk. Keeping predictable routines also works wonders here. You can also empower them using the fear me not approach. It's so clever. You basically have them externalize the worry creatively. Ask them to draw their anxiety as a silly little worry monster. This helps them observe the feeling instead of being totally consumed by it. Then, help them spot anxious thoughts using imaginary thought bubbles and build a bravery ladder together to face those fears gradually, celebrating every single tiny step up that ladder. Another huge game changer is teaching them to take the thought to court. It's a fun, active strategy. Have them rationally weigh the evidence for and against their catastrophic what-if scenarios. Tell them to act as the lawyer for their worry and then the lawyer against it. Ask them what is the actual hard proof you'll fail that test, and what's the proof you won't. It trains them to evaluate risk logically instead of emotionally. And you'll want to pair those mental exercises with physical relaxation techniques. Things like deep box breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or mindfulness. Why? Well, when the physical symptoms of anxiety start to calm down, the anxious thoughts usually vanish right along with them. Have them practice breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4, and exhaling for 4. Just remember, it is absolutely crucial they practice these when they're already calm, so the tool is actually ready to go when panic strikes. Ultimately, the research is clear. Your secure attachment is their biggest protective factor. Kids are incredibly attuned to us parents. If you react to a thunderstorm with panic, well, they're going to panic too. But if you model a calm, problem-solving attitude, they internalize that resilience. You are their emotional anchor. Your composed reaction is literally the strongest shield your child has against enduring anxiety. So let me leave you with this. The next time your 8-year-old comes to you terrified of some seemingly irrational worry, what's it going to be? Will you view it as a frustrating setback, or will you see it as the absolute perfect opportunity to empower their newly upgraded brain? By understanding the massive cognitive leaps happening right now, you can guide them away from generalized anxiety and straight toward lifelong resilience. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you feel ready to tackle those worries together.